It's great for one landowner to treat their property and lower the fire risk, but it's even better when we get a whole bunch of folks together to do it, and we can kind of lower the risk for the entire area in general. So the Joint Chiefs project, the idea behind it isn't just for individual landowners. It's supposed to be a benefit for the entire community. It's designed to lower the fire risk for the community at large, really. For that to happen, we need enough people to participate in the process. We need adjacent landowners. We need to work across property type. We need to work with our state and federal partners like the Forest Service, DNRC. We're 3 years into the project now, and where we're standing here is just one little block of a bigger adjacent block of units that we have under the grant that makes up like a 5 linear mile unit. So any fire that comes out of the east towards Libby is going to run into this wall of treatment.
So the property, when we moved out here, it was fairly thick, overgrown, to a level that I thought was a fire danger, and honestly we just wanted more light. So I started to chip away at the excess growth and thinning on my own. I believe I was approached by the state probably in 2020, 2021 to participate in the NRCS thinning grant, and I took the opportunity. It was great because I had already planned on thinning, so it was a good fit.
The project here, I mean, there's 2 basic practices: thinning, sometimes referred to as slashing the property. So it's just thinning out fuels, a lot of understory, inferior, unhealthy, diseased trees, getting some nice space between leaf trees, especially some canopy gaps, opening up the canopies. And then the question is, what do we do with all the slash that's cut? So typically, like on this project, we excavate or pile it. We put it into piles, and then during certain times of year where it's legal to burn, we go ahead and do that.
The thinning obviously reduces the risk of the catastrophic fire, and it creates better habitat for wildlife. Thick overgrown forest just isn't really great feed for larger animals. You get a lot more undergrowth, better feed opportunities for animals.
My name's Jeremy Rank. I'm a landowner here in Lincoln County, Montana, in the Libby Surround project area. And for my day job, I work for the Department of Natural Resources and Conservation as a service forester, assisting small private landowners in managing their land. And right here, I get to manage my own land, and that's a thorough joy for me. So the NRCS worked with me on this particular project to do 2 treatments. The first is a forest improvement thinning, and the second is treating the residue, woody residue treatment. And that allowed me to thin for an optimum tree spacing, and then go ahead and meet the state requirement for slash disposal by reducing the woody residue that's left over from your forest thinning. Landscape scale projects are so important to work cross boundary. On this Libby Surround project, we had the United States Forest Service, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, the State Department of Natural Resource and Conservation. We have multiple small private landowners as well as industrial private forest landowners. And with the focused effort in this area and a methodical and intentional focus on certain project-specific locations, we couldn't have done it cross-boundary work as individuals.
The premise of the grant is to lower the fire risk, and I think we've accomplished that here. So the idea of a fire running down the mountain onto the property, it's a pretty scary thought. But I think now what would likely happen is a fire wouldn't carry through the canopy. On a project like this, it would jump to the ground, and it'd be a lot easier for firefighters to come and defend the property and put it out. So we're lowering the fire risk. It would be terrible to lose this stand of timber, but it would be even more devastating to see, property or human life affected by this, right? So we're doing this not only for the resource, but also for the human aspect.
The benefits and changes that I've seen on my own property are enormous. The trees were so thick, they were essentially killing each other, choking themselves out, over-competing for the limited resources that we have. And instead of allowing those limited resources to go to all the trees that wanted to grow here, what we did is selected the crop trees to leave and reduced all the other trees, got them out of the equation. So we reallocated the math so that the 10 or 12 inches of rain that we get and the 3 feet of snow we get goes to the trees that we want to keep. The benefits to the land that this program offered was assisting a landowner to do the right thing on the landscape. A lot of times the right thing is cost negative. It costs more than the revenue that it generates. And the NRCS program allows me to do the right thing on the ground and helps cover the cost. Managing this land is my responsibility, and I'm a steward of it for a little while. This land's going to last a lot longer than I do, and the fingerprints that I leave on this landscape are going to last well into the next generation. And mismanagement is essentially lack of management. And to impact the landscape so that catastrophic wildfires don't happen, but instead natural low intensity, low severity wildfires come across the landscape. Now my forest is more natural because of the work that I've done, partly because we've excluded fire off the landscape for 100 years, and the way to bring it back to a condition where fire can be reintroduced, you have to reduce some of those unnatural fuel loading. And this program really motivated me to do that.
I think the NRCS grant is a great thing for landowners. Anybody who can should participate. Today it's so important for landowners to thin their property and manage their stands of timber. With the fire dangers we have, the rising temperatures every year, the possibility for catastrophic fire is really there.